I remember those mornings so vividly. The moment my alarm went off, and before my eyes even opened, that same question echoed in my mind like a stubborn soundtrack I just couldn't turn off. Why does money never flow to me? It was as if I had somehow become a magnet for scarcity, for struggle, for frustration that never seemed to let up. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how many hours I put in, I still felt like I was running on a treadmill that never led anywhere. The more I pushed, the further the gap grew between what I wanted and what I actually had. It was exhausting, physically, but more so emotionally. Every day felt like a battle with myself. I'd wake up, look at my bank account, and think, okay, today I'll be different. Today I'll finally turn things around. But then the stress would creep back in, whispering that it's hopeless, that I'd never really break free from this cycle. I'd do my best to stay positive, I swear I would. But deep down, I felt overwhelmed by this unseen barrier blocking the flow of abundance. I believed that if only I was more grateful, more positive, somehow everything would shift. But truthfully, I waited to feel grateful after I saw something change, like some kind of reward for waiting for better days. And that's where I got caught, because I didn't realize that waiting for results before feeling gratitude was the very thing holding me hostage. I kept thinking that gratitude had to be born out of abundance, out of having enough. But what if I told you that this wasn't the full story, that gratitude, real gratitude, isn't just a reaction to abundance? What if the act of gratitude itself could be the key that unlocks a new way of living, a new flow of prosperity? I know it sounds almost too simple, almost too good to be true, but I've lived it. I've seen it happen firsthand. And I want to share that journey with you because I believe that the biggest shift happens not when everything outside suddenly becomes perfect, but when we change what's going on inside first. That's what I've come to understand. There's a silent, almost invisible power that we can tap into, but most of us completely overlook it. I was one of those people who thought that the universe only responded to what I did or how much I struggled, that my hard work, my sleepless nights, my sacrifices, those were what mattered most. But what I didn't realize was that underneath it all, beneath the worry and the doubt, there's this tiny but mighty shift I could have made any moment by simply changing the way I looked at gratitude, about money, and about myself. It wasn't about making wishes or desperately hoping for a miracle. It was about a quiet shift in how I saw my relationship with abundance, how I began to see money not as something I had to chase or earn only through struggle, but as something I could invite into my life when I changed my mindset. When I started to think, even in the midst of my financial chaos, I felt a different energy building inside me. It was subtle at first, a little spark of hope, a faint acknowledgement that maybe I was not separate from wealth but connected to it in ways I hadn't understood before. That's when everything started to change for me. Opportunities I'd ignored before suddenly appeared. New ideas, new paths, serendipitous encounters, all started aligning in ways I hadn't expected. But it all began with this tiny, powerful shift in how I approach gratitude. I learned that gratitude isn't just about being thankful after you see results. It's about activating the field that attracts those results. The moment you start expressing true appreciation, even without seeing it fully manifest yet. And once I embraced that, I realized I was in control of my reality, not the other way around. So now, I want to invite you into this journey, a journey I've been on myself. A journey that transformed my very mindset. Because if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like the universe is just playing hard to get, know that there's a simple, powerful truth waiting for you to discover. And it all begins with a single choice: to see gratitude not as a reward, but as a tool, a catalyst that awakens the hidden channels of prosperity that are already within you. And the best part? This is just the beginning. The real shift happens when you start to realize the incredible power you already hold, the power to change your life, starting right now, with your own willingness to see abundance in a new way. Once I started to experiment with this different approach, I realized that the act of genuinely appreciating abundance was like planting seeds in a fertile field. It wasn't about forcing feelings or pretending to be thankful. Rather, it was about intentionally shifting my focus to what I already had, no matter how little or fragile it seemed at the moment. Imagine standing in a dark room and choosing to focus on even the faintest flicker of light. Over time, that tiny glow begins to grow brighter, illuminating the entire space. That's exactly what happens when I consciously direct my energy toward appreciation. It's as if I flip a switch, activating a dormant reservoir of potential I hadn't known existed. Building upon this, the concept extends well beyond mere words or fleeting thoughts. It's about creating a deliberate practice, like tuning an instrument, so that every vibration produces harmony. When I began to set aside moments throughout my day to acknowledge even the smallest blessings, like finding a coin on the sidewalk or receiving a kind word from a stranger, I felt a quiet shift within. It's akin to routine maintenance for your subconscious mind. The more consistent I was in this practice, the more I rewired my internal landscape, replacing shadows of doubt with luminous streams of possibility. This process is subtle but profoundly powerful. It continuously reaffirms that abundance is the natural state to which I am inherently connected. Now, think about how this functions in external circumstances. When I looked at my bank statement, and instead of focusing on deficits, I consciously appreciated what was there, no matter how modest. It was as if I stretched that small sum into a larger, more expansive feeling. That simple act created a vibrational ripple. Opportunities that once seemed distant or impossible started appearing like signs on a trail, leading right to me. In essence, by shifting my attention from scarcity to appreciation, I was realigning with a frequency that attracted more of what I valued. It's similar to tuning a radio. When the station is clear, the music flows smoothly without static. When I adjusted my internal dial, deliberately, intentionally, the noise of limitation faded, and abundance became more discernible. Another layer worth exploring is the importance of consistency. It's tempting to think that a moment of temporary gratitude will suddenly change everything. But the true magic lies in persistence. Like watering a plant every day, I learned that sustained focus on what I was grateful for was necessary to cultivate a persistent flow. When I ignored those small opportunities to acknowledge blessings, especially during tough times, I noticed that my vibrational momentum slowed. Conversely, when I made it my mission to find something, even if seemingly insignificant, to genuinely appreciate throughout each day, I began to notice more coincidences aligning in my favor. It's similar to creating a momentum that compels the universe to respond. It's less about pushing and more about flowing. Furthermore, the impact of this practice deepened when I realized that this internal shift didn't require external validation. I didn't need a big check or a life-changing event to feel grateful. It was about nourishing the energy within. Think of it like a muscle that grows stronger the more it's exercised. The more I intentionally practiced appreciation, the more I felt an inner stability, like a steady current that kept pulling opportunities toward me, regardless of how turbulent external circumstances appeared. It's as if each moment of thankfulness acted as a magnet, drawing in resources and possibilities with increasing momentum. Now, consider how you can start to incorporate this into your daily routine. It's about creating a new habit, one that prioritizes noticing what's already present and shifting focus from lack to abundance. For example, as you wake up, don't just rush into your day. Pause for a moment to intentionally acknowledge something you're grateful for, even if it's just a breath or a small comfort. During moments of challenge, instead of dwelling on what's missing, guide yourself to identify even the smallest detail that brings relief or joy. This intentional redirection begins to reshape your entire perception, opening pathways that previously seemed blocked or invisible. It's not about denying reality, but changing the lens through which you experience it. Every time I pull myself back to appreciation, I'm essentially rewiring my mindset, creating a new blueprint for how I perceive wealth, success, and joy. It's like rewriting the rules of a game, so that instead of struggling against circumstances, I start to dance with them. This simple yet profound shift can redefine your entire experience, enabling you to see opportunities where you previously only saw obstacles. The universe responds to your emotional vibration, not just your thoughts. So by cultivating a deep sense of thankfulness, you're actively inviting a flow of abundance into your life, often in ways that defy logic or prediction. So, I invite you now to reflect. What small act of appreciation can you implement today that will begin to activate this limitless potential? Perhaps it's recognizing a quiet moment of peace or thanking your body for its resilience. Whatever it is, realize that activating this energy creates ripples that extend far beyond what you can immediately see. It's a process of inner transformation, not a quick fix, but a powerful, ongoing alignment with abundance, one moment, one acknowledgement at a time. One of the most surprising insights I encountered in this journey was realizing how deeply ingrained our habits of thought are. Many of us have conditioned ourselves to focus predominantly on lack or limitation without even consciously noticing it. It's like walking through a familiar landscape blind to the colors and textures around us because we've been staring at the ground, fixated on what's missing rather than what's present. When I started to pay attention to those subconscious patterns, I saw how consistently I defaulted to concern over bills, deadlines, and setbacks. It became clear that these mental gears, once set in motion, generate a vibration that pushes away the abundance I was yearning for. Recognizing this mechanical repetition opened my eyes to the importance of intentionally shifting direction. Another dimension I discovered involves how our environment and daily language either reinforce scarcity or plant seeds of prosperity. Simple words and stories we tell ourselves act like scaffolding, supporting either a mindset of abundance or one of scarcity. For example, constantly describing money as hard to come by, limited, or unreliable doesn't just reflect reality. It actually creates a vibration that attracts more situations confirming those beliefs. Conversely, cultivating a language of possibility and abundance, noticing how free and plentiful opportunities actually are, reprograms our perception. It's like rewiring the nervous system. The words we choose act as primers that influence our vibrational signals, attracting what matches those signals. This is why I began to listen more carefully to how I talk about wealth, success, and even everyday needs. When I shifted focus from what I lacked to what I appreciated, I realized I was actively cultivating a mental environment fertile for new prospects to flourish. This process isn't about dismissing challenges or pretending hardships don't exist, but rather initiating a deliberate practice of acknowledging what's already within reach, small wins, moments of peace, the support of loved ones. Over time, I saw how tuning into these positive touches altered my emotional landscape entirely. It was akin to tending a garden. Instead of pulling weeds rooted in doubt, I started planting seeds of confidence, patience, and expectancy. Little by little, these seeds grew, forming an intricate web of new experiences that reflected my renewed mindset. Now, consider how this approach plays out when I am faced with setbacks or unexpected obstacles. Instead of spiraling into frustration, I began to see each difficulty as an invitation to find something for which to be grateful, something subtle, overlooked, yet meaningful. For example, when a bill unexpectedly arrived, I could choose to focus on the fact that I had the resources to pay it, or I could see the problem as a sign that I needed to reevaluate my relationship with money and trust that solutions are already on their way. It's like navigating rough waters. Rather than fixating on the choppy waves that threaten to overwhelm you, you learn to shift your balance and focus on the steady, unseen currents beneath. This internal adjustment keeps you connected to a flow that continuously brings opportunities, insights, or resources you may not initially recognize. Furthermore, I found that transforming my perspective on setbacks created a new kind of resilience, one rooted in a certainty that any circumstance, no matter how challenging on the surface, contains within it the seed of growth or an opening for something better. Rather than perceiving problems as dead ends, I started to see them as gateways, a chance to refine my intentions, deepen my faith, or refine my clarity about what I truly desire. This shift also amplifies my sensitivity to inspired ideas or actions that previously might have gone unnoticed. Suddenly, I can recognize small intuitive nudges or synchronicities, which act as subtle signs guiding me to the next step, the next opportunity one might have previously dismissed as coincidence. All of this ties back to the idea that deliberate focus acts as a magnet, pulling towards us circumstances that echo our dominant vibrations. When I nurture an ongoing awareness of abundance, regardless of outward appearances, I become more receptive to the kind of synchronicities that previously seemed rare or impossible. I stop viewing luck or chance as external factors outside my control and realize they are simply reflections of my inner state. It's like tuning a musical instrument. When the pitch is right, harmony flows effortlessly. When it's off, even the most beautiful melody sounds dissonant. My internal tuning, My awareness, my words, and my feelings dictates the tone of my outer world. In this process, I've learned the importance of consistency. Small, intentional acts of recognition throughout the day build momentum, each one reinforcing the belief that abundance is already present and accessible. Over time, this builds a new rhythm, a new energetic template that begins to override old patterns rooted in scarcity. It's about creating a new default setting, one that continually attracts opportunities, blessings, and inspired ideas. These are not random. They are direct reflections of my internal vibrational environment, created and maintained through my choices, my attention, and my ability to find gratitude in the least expected moments. So now, I challenge you, when faced with a setback, ask yourself, what is this moment revealing about your current state of mind? How can you reframe what's happening so it becomes an opportunity to acknowledge a different part of yourself, your resilience, your faith, your capacity for abundance? The door to a new experience is often right behind your attitude. Recognize that each challenge is an invitation to shift into a higher vibration, to become more aware of the unseen support already surrounding you. When you do this consistently, your environment begins mimicking your inner transformation, revealing new pathways that before felt invisible. With each intentional recalibration, you align more closely with the flow of prosperity waiting to be activated. Once I started paying close attention to my internal dialogue, I realized that many of my thoughts were like little whispers of doubt or disbelief that subtly reinforced a sense of lack. I didn't notice it at first, but with time, I saw how these mental echoes kept framing my reality as scarce or uncertain. Sometimes, I would mentally catalog all the reasons why I believed wealth was out of reach, stories I had unconsciously accepted from my surroundings or past experiences. Recognizing this pattern was eye-opening because it illuminated how deeply conditioned I was to focus on what I didn't have rather than on what was possible. It became clear that these internal narratives acted like invisible barriers, making it harder to attract abundance because they maintained a sense of limitation deep within my subconscious. Building on this realization, I learned that shifting external experiences depends heavily on the stories I tell myself internally. For instance, if I catch myself thinking, "I'll never get ahead," or "money always slips through my fingers," I understand those thoughts aren't just idle chatter. They shape my vibrational state and, consequently, my circumstances. I started replacing these limiting narratives by consciously creating new mental scripts, affirmations that affirm possibility rather than despair. This wasn't about wishful thinking. It was about actively rewriting my mental blueprint, so every new thought served as a building block toward a different reality. It's similar to how a sculptor chisels away excess stone to reveal the masterpiece buried underneath. Every idea I replaced chipped away at old beliefs, revealing a clearer, more empowering perspective. Furthermore, it became essential to recognize how deeply emotional reactions influence the magnetic field I emit. When I would encounter setbacks or notice things weren't unfolding as I'd hoped, I used to sink into frustration or irritation. But I realized that those feelings were like static on a radio signal, distorting the clarity of my vibrational frequency. Instead, I began practicing conscious calmness, even amidst chaos. I found that taking a deep breath or favoring a moment of stillness immediately centered me, enabling me to respond from a place of empowerment rather than despair. This emotional discipline enhanced my ability to send out consistent signals of abundance. It was as if I upgraded the antenna I radiated, allowing the waves of prosperity to arrive more clearly and with less interference. Now, consider how this applies when you face unexpected situations that challenge your faith. Suppose a financial surprise throws you off balance, perhaps an extra expense or an unanticipated delay in payment. Typically, your mind might jump to worst-case scenarios, reinforcing fears of insecurity. Yet, I learned to approach these moments differently. Instead of reacting based on immediate evidence, I view them as opportunities to reinforce my belief that prosperity is not governed by external conditions, but by the inner attitude I maintain. I asked myself, is this setback an indication that I am lacking, or is it simply a sign that I need to shift my perspective? This small pause created space for choosing a more empowering thought, such as recognizing the resources I do have or trusting that new avenues are opening up behind the scenes. Over time, I discovered that these moments of mindful reframing kept my energy aligned with abundance rather than scarcity. Another insight came as I noticed how physical sensations often mirror our vibrational state. When I felt overwhelmed or pessimistic, my body would seem tense, my breath shallow, and my mind preoccupied with doubts. Conversely, when I tuned into feelings of gratitude or expectation, an openness grew within me. My shoulders relaxed, my energy felt lighter, and my outlook brightened. I understood that emotions aren't just fleeting experiences, but signals that tell us whether we're tuned into prosperity or loss. Therefore, I began cultivating awareness around my physical and emotional cues as a way to self-correct. If I detected discomfort or tightness, I would intentionally redirect my focus towards something I genuinely appreciated, even if it was a simple pleasure like a warm cup of coffee or the sound of birds chirping. This practice helped me anchor my vibrational frequency in a state that naturally attracted more positive circumstances. Finally, I realized that aligning with abundance demands consistency and persistence, especially when results aren't immediately visible. Sometimes, breakthroughs seem to arrive in subtle ways: an unexpected opportunity, a new connection, or a seed of inspiration. Recognizing these as signs that my inner world was shifting helped me stay committed. I started to see every day as a chance to reinforce my intention and to notice the micro-movements guiding me forward. I learned to keep the focus on what I wanted to feel and experience, trusting that the external manifestations follow the energetic blueprint I was consciously shaping. This means that even on days when things appear stagnant, maintaining an optimistic attitude and a sense of expectancy keeps the flow moving. It's like tending a garden. You might not see immediate growth, but every deliberate act of care builds momentum toward a flourishing harvest. All of these awarenesses, about the stories I tell myself, the emotions I embrace, and the attention I give to subtle signs, form the foundation of a new relationship with prosperity. By becoming more attuned to these inner cues, I unlocked a powerful capacity to influence my reality from within. The process isn't about controlling every external detail, but about cultivating a resilient inner environment where abundance can thrive undisturbed by temporary setbacks. When I stopped seeing problems as insurmountable and instead viewed them as signals pointing me toward growth, my experience of life began to shift dramatically. And I continue to refine this practice, knowing that every moment offers a new chance to elevate my vibration and attract the prosperity I truly deserve. Building on the foundation of shifting mental patterns and emotional states, I began to see how much my physical environment played a role in aligning me with prosperity. I hadn't previously paid close attention to how clutter, stagnant energy, or surroundings that didn't inspire growth could subtly block the flow of wealth. When my space felt crowded or disorganized, it mirrored a cluttered mind, confused, overwhelmed, resistant to opportunities. Clearing my space didn't just give me a tidy environment. It was like providing a fresh canvas for new visions. Every physical clutter I removed was a symbolic gesture, saying to the world that I was open, receptive, and ready to receive joyful abundance. Another perspective I embraced involved the importance of feeling deserving. For a long time, I'd fallen into the trap of thinking that only some people deserve wealth. Those who had it all together, who had earned it through struggle, or who came from advantageous backgrounds. But the truth is, worthiness is a matter of internal acknowledgement. I started practicing daily affirmations that reinforced my inherent right to prosperity, regardless of past limitations or current circumstances. I recognized that feelings of unworthiness only act as invisible walls, preventing the natural flow of prosperity. Once I shifted my internal stance to one of unconditional worthiness, I felt like I was removing a heavy weight that had been holding my potential hostage. Focusing on aligning my energy extended beyond internal beliefs to include how I engaged with others. I discovered that genuine generosity, giving from a place of authenticity, significantly amplified my vibrational frequency. This wasn't about giving to expect something in return, but about cultivating an open-handed attitude. Whether it was complimenting someone, offering a kind word, or sharing resources without hesitation, I noticed that these acts created a ripple that enriched my own sense of well-being. When I gave freely without attachment, I felt a deeper connection to a flow that wasn't limited by my personal circumstances. This shift empowered me to see money as a tool for positive impact rather than a finite resource to be hoarded or feared. Another insight emerged through engagement with my imagination. Too often, we overlook how vividly picturing ourselves enjoying prosperity can accelerate the manifestation process. I started to spend intentional moments imagining myself living in abundance, feeling every detail as if I were experiencing it right now. Not only did this practice heighten my sense of possibility, but it also rewired my subconscious to accept those manifestations as true. I would imagine walking into a space that's entirely mine, smelling the scent of fresh flowers, hearing the sounds of a life I love, feeling the texture of success beneath my fingertips. These mental worlds became training grounds, conditioning my mind to accept abundance as a natural state. I also came to understand the significance of acceptance in the face of delayed results. While it's easy to become discouraged when breakthroughs don't occur immediately, patience is a vital ingredient in the alchemy of attraction. Progress often unfolds in ways that aren't instantly visible. The challenge lies in holding faith despite silence or slow movement. I learned to appreciate the subtle signs, small shifts in mood, sudden ideas, opportunities presented unexpectedly, that hint at the growth happening behind the scenes. Reframing setbacks as part of the journey, rather than as failures, helped me maintain vibrational harmony. It's like tending to a seed underground. Above ground, little appears to change, but beneath the surface, roots are strengthening, preparing for a powerful bloom. Respect for the process also deepened as I discovered the importance of celebrating small wins. Each time I acknowledged a moment of growth, no matter how minuscule, I reinforced my belief that prosperity's flow was already present. This shift of focus prevented me from getting caught in a cycle of longing or frustration. It became clear that gratitude wasn't just a passive acknowledgement, but an active signal I sent to the field of possibilities. Celebrating each step, every new insight or opportunity, created a momentum that carried me further along my path. When I embraced every positive moment, I felt a wave of empowerment that aligned me more closely with my desires. Finally, I understood that the true power in manifesting riches is rooted in unwavering faith, trusting that the right conditions are being set up for you even when they're not immediately visible. Instead of obsessing over timelines or insisting on how things should happen, I learned to surrender into a space of confident expectancy. It's like planting a seed in rich soil. I don't hold the sprout in my hand and try to force it to grow faster. Instead, I nurture it with patience and trust that, in time, the life force within it will do what it naturally knows how to do, bloom. This shift from control to trust liberates my energy, allowing me to flow effortlessly with the natural rhythm of creation, opening doors that I hadn't even known were possibilities before. Building further on what I uncovered, I discovered that the subtle art of surrender plays a transformative role in cultivating prosperity. It's tempting to think that persistently pushing or controlling every aspect of the process guarantees results. Yet, what truly unlocks abundance is relinquishing the need to manipulate every detail. When I began to trust that the universe has a perfect plan for me, regardless of my limited human understanding, that shift elevated my vibrational frequency significantly. Instead of obsessing over the exact steps needed to achieve my goals, I learned to relax into the flow, offering my intentions with a gentle confidence that everything is unfolding in divine timing. With this mindset, I confronted my own attempts to micromanage life, recognizing that resistance only created friction. Allowing myself to be receptive, free from attachments to specific outcomes, opened a channel through which possibilities moved freely toward me. Another layer of this journey involves alignment through inspired action, which I've come to distinguish from forced effort. Often, I found myself stuck in a cycle of doing, pushing, and striving, convinced that action alone was the key to manifestation. However, I uncovered that the most powerful actions are often intuitive nudges, quiet whispers rather than loud commands. When I started to pay close attention to these subtle impulses, I felt guided toward opportunities and solutions that my conscious mind could never have conceived. For example, I might suddenly feel the urge to make a phone call, write a letter, or attend a particular event. When I followed through without resistance, doors swung open that previously seemed sealed shut. This was different from working tirelessly and feeling exhausted. It was about tuning into my inner voice and trusting that it knows the next step I must take. This form of inspired effort amplifies my vibrational match to abundance, acting like a catalyst that speeds up the manifestation process. Furthermore, I found that redefining my relationship with setbacks is crucial for sustained growth. Instead of viewing obstacles as signs of failure, I began to interpret them as feedback. Every challenge offered a chance to examine my beliefs and to refine my focus. For example, if I experienced a financial hiccup, I would ask myself what this situation was teaching me. Perhaps it revealed a hidden fear of lack or a tendency to doubt my worthiness. When I embraced those lessons instead of resisting them, I transformed perceived failures into stepping stones. They became part of a larger healing process, clear signals that I was shifting on a deeper level. Over time, I became less reactive to temporary setbacks, recognizing that they are often transient illusions designed to push me into greater clarity and expansion. Another profoundly eye-opening realization involved the power of emotional neutrality in creating momentum. I drifted away from chasing highs or desperately trying to hold on to moments of happiness, understanding instead that sustained abundance arises from a state of calm, centered awareness. When I cultivated a habit of observing my emotions without judgment, I was able to detach from the temporary fluctuations of circumstance. This detachment gave me clarity, allowing me to make choices rooted in harmony rather than reaction. For example, if I encountered a stressful situation, I learned to breathe deeply and pause before reacting. By doing so, I preserved my vibrational integrity rather than lowering it through panic or frustration. This emotional discipline became a crucial anchor, keeping me aligned with the energy of wealth regardless of external chaos. When I maintained that neutrality, I found resources and opportunities appearing naturally, as if the universe was co-creating alongside me, synchronized to my calm and open state. Additionally, developing a sense of expansive gratitude beyond thankfulness in words brought a new dimension of power into my manifestation efforts. I began immersing myself in feelings of abundance as if it already existed, feeling the texture of wealth, sensing the ease of financial flow, and visualizing harmony in my financial landscape. This deep immersion energized my entire being, transmitting a signal of completeness and confidence into the universe. I understood that appreciation isn't just verbal acknowledgement, but a multisensory experience, an emotional resonance that literally rewires my energetic blueprint. When I did this consistently, I noticed an almost uncanny ability for opportunities to arrive at me, often in the form of unexpected gifts or spontaneous ideas. Creating space within myself for prosperity to feel tangible helped dissolve lingering doubts and aligned me with the effortless flow of abundance. Finally, I grasped that fostering trust in myself is just as vital as trusting the universe. Believing that I am inherently deserving doesn't mean I need to earn my worth through struggle. Instead, it's about cultivating unwavering confidence in my capacity to co-create a life full of prosperity. The more I nurtured this inner conviction, the less my attention was absorbed by fears of not having enough. I saw that self-trust acts like a steady anchor amidst shifting external conditions, anchoring my vibrational frequency regardless of what appears on the surface. When I held this conviction, I became more receptive to signs that support my desires, whether it's in serendipitous encounter, a sudden insight, or a gentle nudge. Trusting in my own innate power meant stepping into a space of creative freedom, where abundance flows because I believe I am worthy, capable, and aligned. The more I embraced this truth, the stronger my connection to limitless prosperity became. Reflecting on this journey so far, I realize how each insight formed a delicate strand woven into a much larger tapestry of understanding. When I began to see how internal narratives shape external realities, I started to appreciate the innate power dwelling within, waiting to be activated, not just through simple wishes, but through a deep, ingrained alignment of mind and emotion. These shifts aren't isolated acts, but intertwined processes that influence one another in profound ways, creating a ripple effect that extends well beyond surface appearances. Each recalibration of belief, every conscious choice made to elevate my feelings, acts as a catalyst, fanning out in ways that gradually reshape my entire energetic landscape. What becomes striking is how seamlessly these elements integrate into the fabric of daily life. When I pay close attention, I notice how subtle adjustments in my perception can lead to shifts in opportunities and encounters I would have previously overlooked. It's as if I am refining the lens I see through, clearing away the fog of doubt and static that cloud my vision. These tiny movements, almost imperceptible on their own, accumulate like drops of water carving a deep canyon, transforming the terrain beneath my awareness into something new, expansive, and aligned with the life I desire. And yet, amidst this unfolding, there's a sense of gentle anticipation. It's not about rushing to the next big breakthrough, but about recognizing that authentic change is a process of continuous refinement, unfolding quietly and powerfully from within. I notice how the root of transformation lies in an unshakable belief that within me resides an endless well of potential, an energy field that responds swiftly to my attention and intention. This realization invites a kind of mastery over my inner state, where my focus becomes a sacred act of co-creation. Each moment of conscious awareness, each decision to lean into abundant possibility, acts as a stroke that paints a richer picture of what is to come. Every insight I've uncovered acts like a key unlocking doors I didn't realize were just beyond reach. They guide me through corridors of doubt and into vast chambers of possibility I'd previously thought inaccessible. I see now that how I relate to my own worth sets the foundation for everything else I attract. When I stop questioning whether I deserve prosperity and instead recognize that abundance flows naturally through me, I cease to block the energy that draws success closer. That shift changes everything, like flipping a switch that illuminates a hidden pathway previously cloaked in shadow. This path is not linear nor predictable. Instead, it feels more like a series of gentle ascents, each building upon the last, revealing new vistas I hadn't seen before. As I cultivate patience and trust, I begin to sense a quiet confidence blossoming within, one that listens softly for signals rather than desperately pursuing outcomes. Because once I realize that my inner state acts as the soil in which the seeds of prosperity are planted, I understand how vital it is to nurture that soil with care and awareness. When I do, the fruits of my labor emerge effortlessly, almost as if they are responding to an invitation I may not always be consciously aware of. There's a profound simplicity in this truth, yet it has the power to reshape the entire way I approach my reality. When I align from within, when I deepen my sense of worthiness and elevate my feelings, external circumstances begin to shift in harmony. It's not about forcing change, but about cultivating a fertile environment where growth can naturally flourish. Each insight, each shift in perception, acts as a gentle breeze that stirs the dormant potential lying just beneath the surface, awakening possibilities that once felt out of reach. This journey encourages me to trust that the most significant transformation happens from the inside out, and that embracing that truth unlocks a cascade of miracles waiting to reveal themselves. So now, with this understanding taking root, what remains is a quiet expectation, a certainty that, as I continue to refine my inner landscape, the outer world will respond accordingly. I see how every moment, no matter how small, contributes to this ongoing alchemy. It's about learning to be present with myself, with my feelings, with my intentions, knowing that these elements are the moving parts of a sacred process of manifestation. Each step forward feels like a gentle awakening, a recognition that the power to co-create the life I desire lies not outside me, but within the depths of my awareness. As I continue to deepen this practice, I trust that every shift of perception acts as a bridge, connecting my inner world with the unfolding reality I am actively shaping. As I reflect on this journey, I see how each step I took was like peeling back the layers of an area I had once believed was out of reach. I used to think that external circumstances dictated my worthiness, that my limitations were fixed and insurmountable. But the truth I've come to understand is that everything begins from within, with the story I tell myself in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When I shifted from focusing on what I lacked to appreciating what was present, no matter how small, I unlocked a new sense of power. That power isn't external. It's within me, waiting patiently to be acknowledged and activated. This realization transformed the way I engage with the world. It's like discovering a dormant part of myself that's always been there, but hidden behind layers of doubt and conditioned beliefs. When I started to honor that inner voice, one that encourages, uplifts, and affirms my worth, I felt an awakening. It wasn't about fixing my situation overnight, but about cultivating an inner atmosphere where growth could flourish naturally. I understood that when my feelings align with what I desire, invisible threads begin to weave connections that I couldn't see or comprehend before. Those threads are the roadmap to new opportunities, unexpected blessings, and relationships that reflect the energy I radiate. I discovered how easy it is to get caught in a cycle of resistance, trying to force outcomes that don't resonate with my true self. Yet, disrupt that pattern by leaning into a deeper sense of trust. Trust in myself, in the timing of things, and in the process unfolding. That trust isn't blind. It's rooted in the awareness that I'm part of a greater flow. When I stop obsessing over control and instead surrender into faith that I am guided, I notice my steps become lighter. The path reveals itself in quiet ways, through intuition, favorable coincidences, gentle nudges pushing me toward what's meant for me. It's as if I've begun to dance with life instead of fighting it, allowing harmony to guide my movements. Separation from scarcity didn't happen all at once, but emerged gradually, like a dawn breaking after a long, dark night. As I shed doubts and limiting beliefs, I began to feel a new confidence rising within. I learned that health, prosperity, and joy are not distant goals, but states of being we can access through internal alignment. When I remember that my worth isn't defined by bank balances or societal standards, I free myself from the chains of comparison. Instead, I embrace my unique journey, trusting that abundance flows to those who hold hope and gratitude at the core of their being. That shift deepened my connection to the endless possibilities that surround us all, waiting to be realized once doubts are dissolved and openness takes their place. The most profound lesson of all is that cultivating a positive relationship with life is an ongoing dialogue, not a one-time act. It's an awareness planted in the fertile soil of daily choices, moments of reflection, and gentle self-compassion. Every time I remind myself that I am deserving of everything I seek, I reinforce a powerful energy that draws those very blessings closer. No longer do I see myself as a passive recipient of fate, but as a conscious participant shaping my reality through intention and belief. This shift is subtle yet unstoppable, transforming obstacles into opportunities and fears into affirmations of possibility. We are all connected to this vast field of potential. Boundaries only exist when we accept them as real. But deep inside, there's a voice that whispers of greater possibilities, waiting patiently to be heard. When I listen to that voice, I realize that every moment becomes an invitation, a chance to step into a more abundant, fulfilled existence. The journey is ongoing, and each day offers a new canvas upon which I can paint with hope, trust, and clear intention. I understand now that the true magic resides in returning to that inner truth, knowing that the foundation of everything I wish to create is already within me, guiding me toward the life I was always meant to live.